Welcome everyone to Male Fuzz TV. I am Peter, that is Tara. We talk about TV shows here. The year is 2022 and the name of the show is Babylon 5. This is season 5, episode 3. It's called The Paragon of Animals. So full spoilers for the episode. And I was not expecting so much of Byron so soon. It was a pleasant surprise. Kind of. He's a bit over the top with his performance, but I do actually kind of like a lot of what they set up in this episode with the telepath story. But
I don't dislike Byron. I saw in the comments that people are not thrilled about him, and we'd be wishing to have a certain Englishman back. But like, he's been fine.
He's better than Cole. I'm just going to say it.
Oh yeah. So far, anyway. I'm surprised you say that after he's been quoting Shakespeare in this episode.
He did do that, unfortunately. But I did appreciate that. Well, this is our first episode of the season with Lita actually in the episode, which was nice. But more so, she actually gets the most interesting story this episode and what they're teasing for her character. And this idea that she's been just used and used and used because of her telepath ability for like the whole. Well, obviously she wasn't there, right? I mean, she was there at the start because she was in the gathering, but then she wasn't there for a while. And then she popped back in. But ever since she popped back in, she's just been kind of used by the Vorlon. She's been used by other humans. And I kind of like what this episode did with, like, Byron kind of offering, like, hey, we're trying to build a future for telepaths that aren't just the servants of mundanes who tell us what to do. And her not only, like, kind of accepting or at least wanting to hear more about this by the end of the episode, but I do think it's very interesting that when she goes and, like, you know, she's there on behalf of Garibaldi. We'll get into all the reason for that in a bit. But when she goes and gives the information she gets from him to Sheridan, and it's like, oh, this just saved the White Star fleet because they were going to be ambushed. Sheridan, I thought it was really notable in the moment that Sheridan turned around and said, "Hey, like you saved a lot of lives there. Thank you." Like he thanked her for her help, and it was kind of I think it was doing an interesting. It was doing a nice job of like. Yeah, Byron's kind of right because she is constantly used for her abilities and expected to do things. But in this episode, like Garibaldi kind of makes a case for why she should go to the telepaths and why the telepaths need to get on board with this because, like, you know, what Delenn and Sheridan are actually trying to do with this alliance is actually a really noble idea and something that should have a chance of succeeding. And then Sheridan genuinely thanks her for it. It's kind of this, like... Yeah, you can work with humans, or the humans, the mundanes, the regular folk, but yeah, clearly you need to have some kind of like a better future that isn't the Psychor, you know, Bester in charge, and like, you know, being overlords to everyone else future, because that's clearly where Bester's heading. Clearly, whatever Byron's future for the telepaths that are free from Psychor is very different, and right now seems to be the better of the two choices. But you know, obviously, B5 likes to do the shades of grey and give us the different viewpoints and stuff.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like, you know, after the Shadow War and Lita, we were wondering like, what's going to happen to her? Like she seems to be trapped in a corner here, and her only way out is through going back to Psychor and through Bester and stuff. And it's like, well, can't Babylon 5 like do something for her? Like give her just asylum for being a war hero, you know, something. And then they have this whole like floor of telepaths. Well, they're in the brown section, but like they're just giving them a place to stay. Sure, it's kind of, you know, a shitty area, but it's still like something where they have this community that they can build and they could be helpful to Babylon, the station, and like get work without having to resort to going back to Psychor.
I think the difference, just to suggest something here, I think the difference maybe now is that because they've established this alliance as this separate entity from Earth, because the Psychor have they have no say in Minbari telepaths. They have no say in Minbari you know, I'll pick another race. I forgot which one I already said, so I blanked there. But you know, like they have no say.
Well, not Narn. Anything but Narn.
Yeah,
right?
anything but Narn. They you know, they have no say in those other telepaths, so it makes sense now if B5 is truly independent and recognizes an independent state as the Alliance, then he can offer this now. Because I was thinking, you know, when Garibaldi says this episode, oh, let's go, you know, recruit these telepaths as part of the intelligence division, because hey, we don't have to operate by Psychor's rules, because F them. And I was like, well, give Leah the head role. Let her be lead telepath or something.
Yeah. Yeah, why not go to Lita first for this kind of thing? And like, she's still wearing the Psycor pin and the gloves, and she's got a sweet new uniform and a sweet new hair extensions. But which is, I guess, important because if she wants to join this group of telepaths, she has to have really great long hair. That's like a requirement, apparently.
And she's also only allowed to wear all black. I noticed that. See, when Garibaldi goes down to speak to them, I noticed that everyone was just standing around in all black. It was like they were about to like turn into a boy band music video at any point. Just
I would love to see like a bald person down there. Like, what the heck? Is that like a requirement? You have to have great metal hair in order to,
are they
to be recruited?
Are they possibly suggesting that something to do with the telepath gene means that the reason for hair loss doesn't happen, and that's why they all have great hair?
I don't know. I think, or maybe Byron is like a cult leader, and like he's like projecting telepathically like just these secret rules, like you have to have hair like me.
I thought you were going to suggest that he's just like, what they do is because they're telepaths, like maybe some of them have went bald, but they're just psychically showing you that they've got hair so that you never realize. They're
all super attractive, and they all have great hair. There's one lady, she's got like this beautiful long blonde curly hair. I'm like, who is that? And yeah, and then that's when I noticed the hair. I'm like, oh my God, everybody's got long hair, like great hair in this. Super jealous.
I'd have to go back and check the first episode of the season to see if there was, because there was at least one older man. I don't know if he had like short hair at least, but yeah, a lot of them had long hair.
I don't know. That is a scene worth rewatching because it is pretty funny.
Yeah, because he makes this interesting case to Lita, because I did really like the idea that he's refusing to do this. He's making this point of like, you're always demanded of things, but you never asked. And he genuinely says, hey, does it matter to you if we help Garibaldi and what they're trying to do? Because actually, that's the other thing I would say here, is that I did think like the way he was so aggressive about turning Garibaldi down felt a little bit weird, because it was kind of like he's there on Sheridan and the Alliance's behalf, and Sheridan's the one who okayed them to stay and have like, you know, sanctuary on Babylon 5. Like, at the very least, you'd want to hear him out.
Yeah, but there's no way like Garibaldi's not projecting his hatred to telepaths while he's in there, you know.
As Byron puts it, like, you know, everyone's like sort of projecting what they're thinking to various levels, and they have to train themselves to not listen for it, kind of thing.
Yeah, even Talia couldn't like reject his powerful thoughts of like looking at her booty and stuff in the elevators.
That's true. I remember the slap. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, so Lita doesn't communicate telepathically with other telepaths, you know, and Byron points that out. That's weird. You're kind of keeping me out. And she's like, yeah, I don't connect. You know, I stopped that. And I'm sure that's something that might change now. She's going down this path. But yeah, like I was getting to is I like that she, like, he asks her, does it matter to you if we do this? And it does, because I think, you know, when Garibaldi convinces her to like go down there, because at first she says get lost, because she's like, yeah, I'm with them. Like, yeah, they shouldn't have to do this for you. But he makes this case that no, this is about what the idea is. It's about the plan and what the Alliance is trying to do and represent, you know, their federation, as we keep kind of calling it. So she does actually believe in it. And, you know, I think when you see her walking past, see when they actually eventually get all the aliens to sign the declaration of, what did they call it? Intentions or whatever it was.
It's Independence Day today. Let's just say independence.
It's not independence though. It's like a morality thing, but
it is.
But when she sees this happening, she does look kind of like, oh, I helped do that. Like, they're actually accomplishing this. And she looks over at the desk, and you see the Londo next to Jakar. You can sort of see her saying, oh, this is working. Like, I'm a part of this, and I helped achieve this. You know, I thought it was okay. So she's realizing that she is having an effect, that she can do good, that she is a part of this system, and it's important. But she's still recognizing that, oh, I should still be a part of telepaths. Like, I'm kind of like alienating myself from that, and I shouldn't be, and I should seek that out and seek people who are like me and sort of relate to people on that level. And that's kind of, I think, what the ending to me was getting at. So, but I liked that. I thought it was a good growth for Talia, to be honest, this episode.
Yeah, I mean, the Hamlet speech that Byron gives is talking about like, or even the title of the episode, The Paragon of Animals, is talking about like how man is like the most truest form of what their potential is, but really like telepaths are higher than that. So, and he does say, like, we are better than them. And yet, like, we have to follow all of their orders and stuff. So I'm wondering if he is going to be kind of
become
bad.
more antagonistic, yeah.
And even Lita has a path in this where she talks about, like, how Bester became, like, there's a theory about why Bester has lost his humanity.
Oh, yeah, that's what's interesting, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You want me to?
There
Okay,
you go on. You're bringing it up. You go on.
Yeah, so, like, a ranger comes to the station and to deliver a message, and he is dying. Like, when he gets there, he's all beat up and is taken to sick bay or med bay. And Lita comes over.
Tally's not been here for 2 seasons.
I can't believe I'm still doing this. Yeah, I know. Lita comes over and is able to have a telepathic connection to see why he was there before he dies. But she does actually see him die. Like, he goes, she explains it as a door opening, and that is what we see. And there's like this tunnel
it looks like
clouds.
It looks almost like they're jump gates when they come through a jump gate. Yeah. That's what it kind of looks like.
It's probably the same special effect with a different color on it or something. It looks like clouds or whatever, like swirling around with a light in the center. And the guy, when he dies, he touches the light and he goes, and this portal thing closes. And then immediately, like, he flatlines and he's gone. And Lita was there in his mind when he died. And she says she's done this before. It's happened to her before.
Once.
And each time a little bit of her soul, or whatever you want to call it, is gone, has left her. And the theory is that Bester used to ask specifically to always be there when a telepath was dying, or somebody was dying, so that he can keep seeing what is on the other side of death. And he was obsessed with that. And that is why he's lost, like,
it's so messed up. Like,
yeah which I thought was very cool. And, you know, Lita says she's done it a couple times now, and she's known people who've done it, you know, like 4 or 5 times, and they have, you know, lost their humanity in a way also. So maybe they're setting up, like, Lita could be the bad guy. I don't know. Maybe.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but, like, it could go that direction if they wanted to, because there are roots for it here in this episode.
I think there's a lot of stuff to unpack there with all of that. The Bester stuff is just super interesting. This idea that he used to be a better person, and, like, he just lost a bit of himself because he's doing something he wasn't supposed to. And maybe you could, like, extend that to say, is telepathy itself something that we're not really supposed to be able to do? And, like, that's already unlocking a door that we're not supposed to get to yet. Or is it just a case of, like, we're not ready for this? In the same way that, you know, we'll be ready to one day ascend like Ironheart, but we're not even close to that yet. So this is, like, just too far too quick. And I think, because I think, you know, when I'm arguing about our telepaths better, I'd say we're not better, you're different. And I think all the weaknesses that humans have, you still have. And if anything, the telepathy might make it worse. You might be more inclined to give inhibitions because you are more powerful. The power complex you might get is, you know, so I think, you know, the whole the idea being that it kind of stands for just, you know, because she calls it her soul. You can call it what you want. I'd maybe change it to humanity. Maybe is a better way. The idea that you lose some of that if you're there for that. I did think, like, just to go back to the scene itself, though, I actually really liked how all this was presented. The idea that she's in there looking for what happened, and, you know, he's got this information about this planet needs help, and, you know, we'll get to all that plot. But I love that just before he goes, he, like, says, "I'm dying, aren't I?" And then she looks up, and, like, you know, his, like, inner mind, or whatever you want to call it, is, like, standing in front of her, and he's really sad, and it's like, oh, she's in there as he's dying. This is, you know, because I thought the scene played out well, but you sort of realize that's what's happening. And then, you know, Delenn comes in eventually and is, like, standing there, and she's not seeing any of this, but Talia is just, that's your fault. That's your fault. I would never have done that if it wasn't for you. You've said the name multiple times, and you've done it to me.
I said it at least twice. Yeah, but only once was a mistake.
Yes, Lita's standing there, and, you know, so it's this traumatic thing. It feels traumatic in the scene, and then she adds some more context to it later when she's talking to Garibaldi about how awful it is, and how you're kind of seeing something, and how, like, that vortex she sees that he goes into, or the door she calls it, like, it's only that because that's, like, the human mind can only interpret it as that. It's not really what it looks like necessarily. It just, that's what she saw, because
when
that's
she said door, I was like, oh, she's going into the Twilight Zone. That's what happens when you die.
Oh, that would have been funny if there was literally just a door in the middle of the vortex. Yeah.
Just like just the classic like swirly line thing, and then maybe an eyeball or whatever that mannequin thing that goes by.
Yeah. Actually, I really love it. I think the Talia like thread of this episode is really good.
The Lita.
Oh my! This is you. You've poisoned my mind. I went into your head briefly, and you've taken my ability to remember Lita's name from me.
Man. This is good. This is good. This is a good episode.
So yeah, I really liked all this stuff though. I thought it was a good character development for Lita. It was good character, or it was good, just interesting plot and mythology, and like where we might be going with the telepaths. And I think the only thing I'd add on here is that just on the whole Byron might become a bit more villainous, is that he did say back in episode 1 that the idea is that eventually they're just going to move on and leave everyone else behind. So maybe his goals, like he's saying he's better, which sounds like it could become antagonistic, but he could also just be like, no, we just want to leave. We want to be just far gone from all of you and just start our own civilization off somewhere else and just be us on our own. And obviously, we know there's going to be some sort of conflict coming between the normies and telepaths, and the idea that they're going to want their own telepaths, and maybe Byron's crew will genuinely be that for them before they leave or whatever. But something's, we're bubbling. The telepaths definitely, it feels like the big plot line that was still left over, that they still had plenty to explore, and that's kind of like so it's natural that it's the most interesting thing because it feels still so ingrained into what the show is.
I don't think he's going to become a villain. I just I don't know. Like, it would be difficult to introduce or to try to turn Lita into like a villain that's following this cult leader or something also in a season, but it's not impossible. So if they wanted to go that route, I could see the roots here being there for that, but I don't think it will. I don't think it will either. I mean, I just get so many X-Men parallels whenever they talk about being like better than man. Oh, sure. And like, there are good X-Men and there are bad X-Men, you know? You could just be like, yeah, it's okay that we can separate ourselves from the rest of humanity and like just start our own community.
Yeah, I think the whole idea that Talia, you've corrupted my brain. I think the idea that Lita has,
you need to like write it down,
made this choice at the end to like sort of be interested in what he's got to say, to me sort of says like, yeah, obviously it sounds a little extreme in some of the things he says, but there is some truth, and there's a reason why this is appealing to her, even though she does have like some proper connections to people like Sheridan and all these characters who are normies, or mundanes as they call them. But yeah, so there's a lot of interesting stuff to explore there. The other side of the plot, to dive into that, so the planet that the Ranger was at, it's kind of a Seven Samurai style situation where this entire planet is raided every couple of years, where these raiders come down and just take like most of their supplies, leave them with barely enough to live. And just in the last couple of years, this planet have said, no, we're not doing this. You're taking advantage of us, and you're stealing from us. We're fighting back, and they're going to be killed because they don't have the firepower, or the force to actually defend themselves. So they ask the Rangers, please ask us. We want protection from the Alliance. We want to join the Alliance. We want to be part of the Alliance. And so that's what obviously Lita gets from his head before he dies. That presents the core kind of like diplomatic issue of the episode. And there's some interesting stuff here. The Drazi turn out to be actually in cahoots with the Raiders, and because it's on like the edge of Drazi space, so we get a great scene where they kind of like force him to admit that in front of like the rest of the council, which makes sense in the context of the episode because they're trying to convince them all to sign this thing, and they don't want to. But this moment proves why we have to have something on paper that says, no, we don't endorse slavery. We don't endorse this. We step in and help in cases of these things. And sure enough, it works, and they call off the attack. But they send the entire White Star fleet as like a statement to say, no, like if you're doing something like this, we're going to fight it. So, yeah, I mostly enjoyed this. I mean, I did this as the best of the 3 episodes so far.
I think so too. Yeah.
Because I thought that this building of the Alliance and what it meant, it was interesting to take the Drazi, who, I mean, they've not been these virtuous, great like characters all show, but they were part of the, like, as he even says, like, I was on your side when we fought the Shadows. well, yeah, but I don't care because you're picking on innocent people.
We're starting a new alliance. And this alliance says, don't do bad things.
Yeah. So I like that scene well enough, and there's a lot of fun little Jakar moments because he's writing the speech, and him and Londo having some casual bickering. But Joe, what I loved the most, I think, about the scene where they're sort of like tricking him or forcing him to like own up to all this, because they're saying, hey, we've got all the white stars around your planet, or around their planet, sorry, the planets asked for help, and they're going to take down the fleet that's coming in, so like this is all going to go well. What I loved about that scene is that Jakar, Londo were also clearly both in it and knew what they were doing, because the way they were also kind of egging them on to like, oh, this is very good, I'm sure the battle will start any time now, and Londo would have a little dig. It was just really nice to see them all working together. It was like Londo, Jakar, Delenn, and Sheridan were all in cahoots. They all had a game plan together, and we didn't see them form the plan. We didn't see them have a meeting beforehand. We're like, okay, this is all the information, this is what we need to do. You just got it from the context of the scene that, no, they're all in this. They all know exactly what they're doing here, and they're all like pushing these buttons and like prodding him till he eventually has to just own up to the fact, oh, yeah, like half the fleet that's going in's Drazi, and they're all going to die if I can't go and warn them. But that means I have to admit that we've been pillaging off these people for decades or centuries or however long it's been. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the camaraderie and the odd coupleness of a lot of it. I think Jakar has the line, the Centauri have already signed this, and if the Centauri can sign it, then anyone can sign it. So yeah, that's true. I also just like that we got a new alien in this too. It's not much, it's just some, it's humans with some some forehead prosthetics, but like it's a very Star Trek style of alien, actually.
Totally. But I don't think we get a lot of new aliens in this show,
Yeah, I think there's a lot in the background, but I kind of like how much more realistic it feels in a weird way, in the sense that there's only like maybe, I don't know, 8 or 9 races of aliens, and so whenever you're on like one of the main parts of the station and you look in the background, they'll intentionally have a couple of Centauri, a couple of Drazi, a couple, like,
and one of them's extinct now.
Which one?
The was it the second season?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the species, but
it's been a while. Yeah,
they're gone. No more Vorlons also, but like they weren't really all that prominent. Yeah.
No, it gives you a sense of like how big like the known galaxy is, I suppose, with how many alien races there are. If there's one thing maybe Star Trek has a slight problem with, just in the sense that there's been so many shows at this point, and they all like to add their own few. If anything, it's not even just their own few. Like Star Trek, the original series on its own, had like a new planet filled with people of some kind, like that they just discovered for the first time. Like every other episode was that in the original series.
Yeah, there's so many like human colonized planets also that have their own evolution, but then but there's not a lot of like Klingon colonized areas, or like Orion colonized areas, or like Andorian colonized areas. Sure, it's always just the humans that you find.
That would be an interesting episode for one of the new shows, actually, is they find a planet where it was like Klingons came here a long time ago, but they evolved separately, so they've got a completely different value system to the rest of the Klingons. That's actually kind of cool.
That would be great. Yeah, I mean, they only ever do it with humans. There is in Discovery, we do find out that the Orions have like an area on Kronos, on the Klingon homeworld, where they do like their kind of shady business and stuff.
Can I just say that I always make fun of Star Trek for almost every planet they run into as Class M. I always just say about this is like totally off topic, but Strange New Worlds, I feel like I've heard Class L planet like 3 times, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just happy that I've noticed another class, because it's always M, which is the ones that humans can land on and breathe. Just for anyone who doesn't know Star Trek, that's what Class M means. It's like Earth.
But there's plenty of ramen berries to eat. Thanks, Futurama.
Yeah. So, I also like the running gag in this, that Sheridan and Delenn are like, they're happy things work out and that things are going well, but they're not happy that Garibaldi's right like 3 times in this episode, because he's right that they need to show a force. He's right, they need telepaths, and like all the vital information they get this episode all comes from telepaths. So it's, it's interesting.
Yeah, Sheridan and Delenn are trying to take a peaceful approach to forming this new alliance and like getting people to think not about like using force and fear in order to coerce somebody into doing something. And then Garibaldi's like, I prefer the method of an iron fist draped in velvet. Which is a funny line.
Yeah, I think Garibaldi makes a good point though. But this is how all these different races think right now. Sure, in the long term, maybe you can retrain them to think differently. But right now, like this is what they respect and this is what they understand. So you kind of have to do it at least in part this way. And once this species is in trouble and they're in need. It's like, well, we have to do something, and this is how we do it. So, sure enough.
And we also get to hear Shakar make a great speech, even though he's just reading the declaration thing that he's written out. But, like, it is nice.
Yeah, it's a nice speech. And then at the end, he comes back and says, we'll have to get them all saying it again. Which is a funny little scene. That's like your running joke of Shakar being like a perfectionist when it comes to his writing. It's kind of amusing. So I'm okay. I like Wacky Jakar. Wacky Jakar's a fun time.
He's been through a lot. Let him have his.
He has.
Yeah. Let him have his fun, his hobby.
What did you think of Sheridan's impression of Londo?
I mean, it's pretty spot on.
It was pretty good, right? And I got him doing Londo in it, but he also was veering just slightly to Dracula. Like I was getting just a slight Dracula from it.
Oh, Dracula is definitely an influence on the accent of the Centauri. I think there's definitely some Transylvanian. I've always kind of thought. Plus, they have like fangs,
Okay, they're blood sucking, like politicians. What you're saying?
Well, yeah, they're like the royal class, like feeding off of the lower class.
Maybe you've got a point. Maybe this was always an intentional thing, but I never really felt it quite like this until Sheridan did an impression, and he just felt like,
well, yeah, that's what impressions are though, right? They're a bit of an exaggeration of what they're already doing,
because like it sounded like it was a good impression by the time it ended, but the first like couple of lines sounded really Dracula, and I was like, oh, he's just in Dracula. What are you doing, Sheridan?
Blah.
Oh dear. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, but I'm actually surprised we went 2 episodes in a row without the new captain.
Yeah, I did notice that.
Yeah.
And I looked at, I watched the opening credits too, just to see if Billy Mooney's name was still there, and it was.
Yeah. I suspect he'll be back, but he may have a limited
Well, he's definitely
role.
going to be back for like the final episode, right? The one that was already shot.
Oh yeah, we know that for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But I suspect he'll probably be back before that. He'll probably come back with his ranger uniform on, and he'll be like...
He'll be a man.
Do you like me now, Delenn?
Delenn will be like, ooh, Lanier, giving me the vapors. She'll become a Southern Belle of Minbar.
I don't think I've ever heard the sentence "giving me the vapors" before.
It's just a stereotype thing from like the 1700s or whatever.
Clearly, one I'm not familiar with. This is maybe this is because I don't like watching like period dramas. So I've never heard this.
It was probably in Gone with the Wind. I'm not sure.
But probably. It's been a while though. It's been a while since I watched that.
Giving me the vapors. Ashley's a man, by the way.
Okay, good to know.
It's a man's. Used to be a band's name.
I mean, I have seen Gone with the Wind. It's just been a long time, and it's 4 hours long. So I'm not.
That's where my name comes from. I'm named after a plantation. How nice. It's my mom's favorite movie.
That's a bit. It's a bit dodgy.
A little bit. It's a nice name though. I like Tara.
Oh, it's a nice name, but it's, so it's a bit dodgy. Anyway, so yeah, not enough Zach this episode. I'm going to, or Bridge Boy for that matter. Where's Bridge Boys?
I know they couldn't get him in the credits. Also, the opening credits. Come on, this is last season.
I had someone to re-edit the opening credits and put in Bridge Boy, but don't put his actual put so and so as Bridge Boy.
Yeah, no Corbinite or whatever his name is.
Corbinite. That's a maneuver in Star Trek. Stop bringing Star Trek into this.
It sure is.
Oh dear.
All right.
Yeah. I had a good time with this episode. I think this was
fine.
the strongest episode of the season so far. I think it showed some of the growing pains of the Alliance and how they're trying to make that work. I thought there was some fun little bits with some of the characters because of that and how they interacted with each other. But then the real meat for me was Lita and like her sort of questioning like her place on the station, her place in the Alliance, her place with these people and the telepaths, and I thought that was pretty good, and it kind of set up that we really are going to be dealing with a lot of telepath stuff this season. So yeah,
so long as it gives me more Lita.
Yes. So
she's a great character and she deserves something good to happen.
Yeah. And do you know that thing we learned, or at least the rumor we heard about Bester? Like I think I'm going to think about that next time I see him, or if I rewatch the show, I'm going to think about it as we're going through, and just how it sort of warped his brain a little bit.
He's in the opening credits and he's not like credited. They just have a scene of Bester in there on purpose, I think, to like, all right, this is what you need to know for this season, and there's going to be some Bester in it. So yeah,
someone because we were like pretty mid on the last episode. I saw, because it just went live today at the time of recording, and I saw a comment saying that their theory was that episode 2, it was kind of meant to be like a catch up, because it moved channel to TNT, right? So and that's why in the beginning kind of also existed, was it was like to try and catch people up on like the lore. Is that it was basically the last episode with all the dream stuff with Londo was kind of like doing a clip show episode but without the clips. It was like try and teach new audience members about a lot of things, and I can kind of see that it was unsatisfying, I think, to anyone who's actually watched the whole show and kept knows all this stuff. But
yeah, I suppose.
But yeah, I mean, at least I mechanically understand what the intention was then, at least. But
yeah, I haven't looked at the comments yet because it's I'm on vacation today, so like I don't do YouTube when I'm on vacation. I only do it while I'm working.
Does your work know about this?
Shh.
I just thought that was an interesting point that I saw, because there's only been a few comments so far. It only just went live a couple hours ago, but that one stuck out as being kind of interesting.
Yeah, totally. No, I like this episode a lot. I think it's definitely the best of the 3 so far, because it's just setting up a lot of things that I'm excited about for the season.
Yeah. That's it, because I think after the first 2 I was kind of feeling like, okay, it's going to be a bit of a mixed bag, and it might still be a mixed bag, but this one actually gave me stuff that I'm excited about, and I'm like, oh no, I'm actually excited about what they're playing with here. So at the very least, I feel like there's one big plot line now that I'm going to be saying, oh, I'm glad season 5 exists for this part of it, at least, even if it feels a little bit redundant otherwise. So we'll see. But yeah, that's what was good. So yeah, let us know what you think in the comments of this episode. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. You can support the show by hitting the super thanks button below if you want to make a one-time donation. However, if you want to commit to an alliance of sorts, they can do that elsewhere, can't they, Tara?
That's right, Peter. If you enjoy our reviews, please check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MildFuzzTV, where if you donate as little as $1 per month, you will get access to bonus episodes for reviews that we do for science fiction movies. There's some horror movies on there too, but with a different host. And if you donate $5 per month, you'll get access to these Babylon 5 reviews 6 days early. And yeah, be ahead of everyone else. Thank you.
Very good. There you go. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Babylon 5. Just don't give away the home world.